Ladies and gentlemen, the new AEW World Champion, Samoa Joe.
Good to be here, everybody. Hope you're all well. I'm excellent. Here we go.
Take it away, Adam.
Before you rehash your question, just make sure to state your outlet and name. Thank you.
Hi, Kate from Fightful.
Hello.
Congratulations on your win today.
Thank you.
You spent a lot of your time under the AEW umbrella as a champion, both in ROH and now in AEW. Just any general thoughts that you have on what it means to be put in that position, and congratulations on your win.
As far as thoughts go, I think it's a testament to the tremendous talent here. To hold the AEW championship is an accolade that I cherish very much, especially at this point in my career, and to compete with the guys that we have here for that championship is something I look forward to in the future. So, we're just getting started here. I'm very, very excited.
Questions for Joe?
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Rich Sambolian, Matman Podcast. How validated and excited do you feel about getting that belt?
Beyond excited. Validation, I think this is just proving a concept that I think many of you already knew, and that's I'm the best, most dangerous individual to ever step foot in this company. And I think this is a testament to that. What's sitting in front of me is a testament to that. And it will continue to be for quite a while. So, I'm very happy with the results tonight. I think everything worked out as smoothly as it could be. Obviously, there was a lot of animosity between myself and Max. And, he prides himself on being a scumbag, but sometimes he just got a little bit more devious game. That was definitely what I had on my side tonight.
Question over here.
Tyler, Fox 5.
Yep.
So, Joe, it's been 15 years since you last held a world title. How do you think you're different mentally and physically going to be a world champion at this point in your career versus last time you were world champion?
Honestly, the last time that, we were in world championship territory is a very young me, very impulsive me. This is a very calculated Samoa Joe. This is a very cerebral Samoa Joe that understands the responsibility of what's been put on his shoulders and what he needs to do to, maintain that championship status. And that's really what I'm about right now. This is going to be the best version of a Samoa Joe champion you've ever seen. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what competition steps up and fails miserably at my hands.
Hey, Joe, Grant Matthews with Bleacher Report. Mm-hmm. Going into the 5-year anniversary of AEW coming up in a couple of days, what precedent do you hope to set as the AEW World Champion? Coming off a year where, going into your 2-year anniversary of AEW itself, where a lot of controversies clouding the product, both on screen, off screen, as the AEW World Champion, what precedent do you hope to set going forward?
Honestly, the precedent is quite simple. It's that, the what we do in the ring is the focus of what we put out in front of the fans. And I think that, our in-ring talent, what our athletes are able to accomplish inside the squared circle, it's going to become more of a focus, especially under my ring. We're going to do things head up and in your face and in front of the people. So I'm looking forward to this new era. I think that, in the world of wrestling, there's always controversy. There's always things swirling about. And it's those people who persevere through it and, ensure that the fans get, the best show for what they came to see. That's what I'm here to ensure.
Another one over here.
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer.
Mm-hmm.
About a couple of years ago, it almost seemed like your career was almost wrapping up. You were doing more office stuff and you were doing commentary. And then obviously now you're the world champion of a major company. Just kind of go into how you're, from almost kind of being done to now obviously being at the top of the game as a world champion.
I think there's a big misconception with that time period. It wasn't that I was done. It was that I was taking the actual time to heal. Obviously we've learned so much about concussion protocol and, the time it takes to heal properly. And I was taking that time. It was a conscious decision on my part for my health and what I felt I needed to do to get back in the ring and perform at a high level. And I realized it wasn't rushing back and putting myself in a position to potentially get hurt worse. It was getting back to 100%, following a lot of the recommendations that doctors gave me and giving it more time. And, it was what it was. And I'm glad I did it. I definitely do not regret it at all. And I think that, my ability to come back and perform now is a testament to taking that time and, treating an injury with the proper protocol and the proper weight and levity it deserves. And I think that more of our athletes should be encouraged to do that, and I encourage them to do that. Our bodies are most important tool in this business, so take care of your tools.
Carlos Montosa here, Flex Sessions. Congratulations on your victory.
Thank you, appreciate that.
You kind of touched base a little bit with my question, but I want to know a little bit more in depth on how you keep consistent during the years and how you're able to hang out with these young kids and perform at the level that you're performing right now.
Because the focus is on the fan experience, and that's very much what I'm about. This grand endeavor that we do is fantastic, and there's a lot of benefit that we take from it, but at the end of the day, we do this for our fan base and for our fans. We do this for when people show up to an AEW show, they know they're going to see a spectacle and have a great time. And that's where I want to keep the focus on servicing our fans and giving them good matches and giving them something to look forward to watch and being entertained. And I think that's my main focus during this reign, is that I want to bring back that fan assurity and make sure that fans know that when they tune into AEW, we're going to get down and you're going to have a lot of fun watching it. And really, that's what I want to reestablish in this company.
Hi, Phil Strum, USA Today Sports Media Group. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, you, whether intended or not, have been the face of a number of pro wrestling brands over the course of your career: Ring of Honor, TNA, NXT, and now AEW. What does the responsibility in this important time in AEW's history, with what's coming up in it, mean to you to be the face of this brand as its world champion?
I mean, it's a tremendous accolade, and it's a responsibility I take very seriously. Obviously, I feel AEW deserves a champion that they can put forward in the world and be proud of, and I'm going to be that champion. When people say, "Have you seen the AEW World Champion?" they're going to know they're talking about the baddest, most dangerous man in this industry, and that is going to be the focal point of what I do and the message I'm trying to send.
A few more.
Hi, Joel Torres from Contralona. Now you're the AEW World Champion. After everything you have done in the business, what do you think is missing? What else do you need to do to prove yourself?
I don't do anything to prove myself. I am proven. What I need to do now is, elevate this title to my status. And I think that's what we're working on right now. It's about taking on the best challengers, seeing all these young up and coming superstars who think they can come and handle me. Well, they can't. We're about to set a lot of records straight and a lot of people right. And, that is the focus of this championship reign, is just all comers, anytime, anywhere, anybody want it, they can come get it.
Hi, Cresta Star from Fightful. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
You had just said about young up-and-comers. Who is somebody that you're looking forward to giving them
I'll whip Hangman Adam Page's ass any day of the damn week. Swerve can get it, sure. Hey, who's your favorite? Go ahead, shout out their name. I'll whip their ass. Y'all think that this is going to be like, oh, I want this guy, I want that guy. I'll take them all. A lot of loud mouths, a lot of dudes talking a lot of stuff. Hey, y'all can do that stuff on Twitter. Come bring that shit to my face, man. See what happens. That's the funny part. Everybody's starting fights around here, but nobody ever start fight with me. Come fight me.
Hi, Matt Cascone from the Queen's Gazette. Congrats on winning the Triple B, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this title design? Do you want to go back to the previous title design? Do you want your
this is going in
own?
the garbage. Don't worry about that. I mean, this trash right here, this little knockoff BS Gucci stuff that he got going on, this is going away, though. We getting the good belt, the right belt, something that's designed well. I've spoken with Tony intensively about it, and we're very much looking forward to it. I mean, we got a whole new era starting up here. Actually, I'm here to announce a little bit. We're starting our partnership with WB Games. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, starring myself. We are definitely in some cross promotion with them. Game coming out at the end of January, and we have some big things coming up with that. Warner Brothers is crazy. I mean, they finally got a champion that they can show to the world with pride and respect. And I mean, everything's really, really fantastic right now. I cannot wait for all the wonderful promotional opportunities and the tons of money I'm gonna make. Y'all gonna get to watch. It's gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna make a lot of money, and I'm not gonna share it with any of y'all, but it's gonna be really fun to watch me spend it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. That was fantastic. Thank you, Joe. If I may say, I believe that there's been a great focus on sports-based pro wrestling, and recently we've seen AEW coming through with some of our best matches, best shows, and I believe with this really enhanced focus on pro wrestling, on sports-based pro wrestling, there's no one better to represent that than Samoa Joe as the world champion. And now, speaking of world champions.
Come on in. Bring it in, boss man. Thank you so much. No. Thank you. Wonderful. Wonderful.
You're wonderful. You're wonderful.
Mr. Khan,
Miss Storm.
Anthony,
Miss Storm.
Anthony.
Miss Storm. It's great to be here with you.
I'm very excited for the future.
Me too.
Very happy. 2024 is going to be crazy. And I know what you're thinking.
Do you?
You want to wear the hat, don't you?
Oh, geez, yeah. Please.
He wants to wear the hat, right?
You guessed.
Oh,
Guessed right.
you are, darling.
This is gonna. Okay. Good. Good. Well,
Oh,
and I'm Christmas colors.
you've never looked better.
Thank you very much, champ. Thank you, Tony Storm. What a world champion. One of the great, great stars in pro wrestling right now. Tony Storm, the AEW Women's World Champion once again, and alongside her, somebody making her debut this coming week on AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS, her first ever AEW wrestling match, Miss Mariah May.
My number one fan.
She's great.
Isn't she a darling? Okay, that's enough.
Questions for the world champion?
And yes, and I must state, I will not answer a single question unless you first tell me your New Year's resolution.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I wasn't ready for that.
Go on. What are the goals? What are we doing?
I guess my goal is to do more AEW media, of course, right?
Good. Congratulations.
Thank you. Kimmy Sokol from the Pop Break. Tony, you've had an amazing year. What is your New Year's resolution? What do you want to do with the AEW Women's Championship?
Darling, that's a good question, actually. There are so many things that we're going to accomplish,
We have so much to accomplish.
isn't it? There is so many things in store for 2024. I am very excited. You will just have to wait and see. I will not give out any surprises, but it's going to be wonderful. I can assure you of that.
Madame is one of the world's great stars, as you've seen, and we spoke of corporate partnerships, just like we were excited to have the new AEW World Champion Samoa Joe, the partnership with WB Games. It was exciting to have TCM step in and to have Ben Mankiewicz work with Timeless Tony Storm. That was amazing, and it's only the beginning of all the great promotions and things we can do with the world champion.
I plan to kick ass all year round and forever. Thank you. New Year's resolution.
Interview you one-on-one? Could
Sorry?
we do a one-on-one interview someday? One-on-one. More questions than just one question right now.
Oh,
It's like wishing for more wishes.
excuse me.
But my
Good, that's a
question
good
for you is, since AEW is expanding so much, could we see a full-length movie starring Timeless Tony Storm and maybe Mr. Tony Khan in that hat, though? It has to be the hat.
You've not seen any of my full-length feature films?
There's so many streaming platforms.
I'll have you know there is quite a number of them.
Where can I find them?
They're on Max. They're on Max. She's quite a catalog. I think they're still on Max. Good.
What have you got?
Do you want a cup of coffee?
Mind if I?
Yeah, it's yours.
Darling,
Black coffee.
you haven't. Oh, God,
Yeah, I told you. I told you it's just black coffee.
it tastes rough.
Yeah, well, that's true. I don't spike it like you do at your key parties.
I
man.
wouldn't have a clue what you're talking
I
about.
heard about your
darling.
key parties.
No,
It's okay. What you do at home is your business.
darling.
Hi, Kate from Fightful, and my New Year's resolution is to watch for the shoe.
As you should. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Congratulations on retaining your championship today. We've seen a lot of really great competitors in AEW, and the free agency market is heating up with some notable names from a lot of different promotions that are available. Is there any challengers either in AEW that you have lined up next, or anybody you would like to see from the free agent market come in and challenge?
Okay, here we go. Tony, Anthony, I don't care how much you're going to yell at me for this after. But yes, there is quite the free agent out there, isn't there? There's money written all over it. Wendy Richter. I'm gonna fuck you up.
That's the answer we all expected. Very good. Very good.
Sorry to give
No,
it
it's
away.
well, you know what? That's a good to know. I plan to be very active in free agency. I in 2024 have a lot of cards up my sleeve, so it's good to know that you're out there looking for the toughest competition, including Miss Wendy Rector.
Hello, Tony. Nice to meet you. Congratulations on your defense. And my New Year's resolution is travel more around the world and hopefully go to All In. And now the question. Talking about
Wait. Horoscope.
Pisces.
Oh, okay. Keep going. I knew it. I knew it.
Talking about the women division, we know that there's a lot of hectic and a lot going around right now in AEW. Do you think that anyone right now in this moment is at your level that you think that might be able to keep on in the ring with you right now?
Okay. Well, God. Okay. Okay. The first one I'll go with is Kristen Statlander. Oh, I would love to get in the ring with her and get nice and sweaty. Phenomenal athlete. I would love to touch her.
Of course. Touching.
Hello, Cresta from Fightful. My New Year's resolution is to be as confident as you.
Darling.
Speaking of confidence, where do you draw all this timeless Tony Storm confidence from, and how do you use it to manage the locker room back here with these tough women?
How do I? Darling, this is me. This is my locker room. I manage it. I'm in charge of it. I am the top competitor, the biggest act. I do not know how I do it, but I just do.
She's larger than life, ladies and gentlemen. This is unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable.
You want to wear the glasses too, don't you?
Oh, dear. Well, the thought had crossed my mind.
There you go.
Hi, Tony. Colin Tessier for Wrestling and Fightful. Congratulations on your win today. The women's division recently had a big return with Thunder Rosa, former champion, somebody you're very familiar with. Obviously, I think she might have something to say about potentially challenging for the title. What would you say about potentially getting her a shot?
I'm sorry, whom? The name was a Thunder? Thunder.
Do you remember a picture you were in entitled Thunderstorm?
Okay, now if that is her name, that would be a fantastic idea for a tag team. If we were one of those double team duo things that they do.
It's a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea.
Thunderstorm. Very clever.
It's an old picture, but a classic.
Do not remember.
You've been in so many films.
It's just been so many performances. I can't possibly remember them all. You know this.
Well, it's true.
You
You
know
have
this. You remember.
really the most
all that
celebrated,
you remember,
decorated
don't you?
catalog in the entire industry.
Yes.
Hi, Tony. Rich from Matt Men Podcast. My New Year's resolution is to look as good as the other Tony, complete with the hat and sunglasses.
What?
Now, my
No.
question for you, given your history, what has been your favorite starring role?
My favorite what? Sorry.
Starring role.
Being the AEW Women's World Champion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, is this the end? You don't want me to stay?
No, I would love for you to stay. You want to do we
Hang
have
out.
more questions for Tony? She's doing so well.
What do you really want to know about me? Go on.
That's for a one-on-one later. Talking about the tag team division, do you see yourself in the future tag team with someone? And where will you go with that? It's an obvious answer, but I just wanted to.
You see, this is a very good question. Whom? I love this Thunderstorm name, though. Yes. I don't know. Oh, what do you think?
Yeah, think hard.
Sorry, can I help? Sorry, she's new. She's doing a fantastic job taking care of me, especially when my butler was sent away. I don't know what, I haven't seen him since. I hope they didn't put him down.
No, he's okay.
But thank you, dear Mariah, for stepping in and helping me this evening. She's been an absolute doll. Thank you, dear.
She showered you with roses, no less.
Thank you, darling. Good job. Good job.
She's a real darling, and she's a great wrestler. She's a great pro wrestler. Wait till you see her wrestle. It's going to be great. This Wednesday night on TBS, I can't wait to see Mariah May debut. I know you're excited to see Mariah May wrestle.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, of course. She's going to be dashing, aren't you? Going to be absolutely dashing. Darling.
Joel Torres contra Lona. Tony, the hat looks great on you. I gotta say that.
Stunning.
How about Mariah May versus Tony Storm for the AEW Women's Championship in the near future?
Well, let's see Mariah May debut in AEW. I think Mariah May is a great pro wrestler with a lot of great experience all over the world. And I think let's see how the debut goes. And certainly I believe in Mariah May. I know Tony Storm really believes in Mariah May. She's very excited to watch her wrestle.
Of course.
And
yes.
I think certainly we'll see how it goes. But I believe Mariah May has everything it takes to be a champion. And right now we have the greatest champion of them all, Miss Tony Storm.
Stick with me, kid. I'll make you rich, but not as rich as me. That's enough.
She's the best. What a great night. Thank you for being here.
Yes, we can all go home. I'm done.
Oh,
we can
that's it.
all get out of here.
Yeah.
We can all have a happy new year. We'll be celebrating this evening. I will see you all there for my extravagant party.
Who's going to be there? Who's going to be at your New Year's party?
Nobody that's a Pisces. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, champ. Thanks. Thank you, champ. What a great champion. Thank you, Miss May. Okay. Well, that was absolutely fantastic. And now, ladies and gentlemen, going from one great champion to another, ladies and gentlemen, the TBS champion, Miss Julia Hart. Let's hear it for the champ.
First question is to Tony Khan. Can you have her put the hat on and maybe the glasses?
Well, I don't
You're going to wear them the whole time.
They were a gift from Tony Storm to me, so I think, I should keep them. It would be very rude.
Of course. Anyways.
I have my own hat. Thank you.
You have your own hat. Of course. I love your hat. Steve Fall from Wrestling News Co. Question about your championship, though. We saw one champion leave. You come on in. Ever have a chance to see both of you in the ring one-on-one, title for title?
That would be great. I've never wrestled Tony, so I would love to one day.
It's a dream match for sure. Two of the top stars in wrestling.
Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Kimmy Sokol from the Pop Break. Now, earlier today, Britt Baker actually tweeted a photo of a match that you two had. Is that a match that you would want to have? Another match with Britt for the TBS title?
That match was my first match on Dynamite, and I think she beat me in 2 minutes. So I would love to see where I could take this match. Definitely longer than 2 minutes.
Kevin McElvaney, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Julia, congratulations. Great match tonight.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people were happy to see 3 women's matches tonight, including the 0 Hour. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. This is actually a question for Tony. There's a lot of conversation, especially the last couple of days, about the issue of safety and harassment, specifically involving women wrestlers. Without getting too much into the details, or some people may not want their names mentioned, but there have been a lot of conversations, and there's real concern from wrestlers, from fans, from media alike, about the safety of wrestlers behind the scenes. So like what has been done specifically to prevent issues like sexual harassment in the AEW locker room, both, in the past and going forward, because this is something that should always be looked at. I think it's very important.
It's a great question, Kevin, and I think it applies to everybody in the whole company, women and men, and it's something we're very serious about, and we've had a policy in place, and certainly I think any time there's anything like that, we would make sure we do everything we can to prevent it. AEW has the best safety record, I believe, of any pro wrestling company in the world. I believe we have the most safe environment. I believe we have the best safety record of any pro wrestling company, and I would hold the record of AEW on safety against any wrestling company in the world. And I think AEW is the safest place for pro wrestling. And if any of our wrestlers ever have a concern, they always have an open line to talk to me. And I believe anybody would sit here and tell you they always can talk to me anytime they are concerned about anything. Well, certainly, if there was anything that came to light to me, I would take it to the disciplinary committee, and that's how we've been doing it. And I think our disciplinary committee has been doing a great job, and everybody knows they have an open line to me or anybody on that committee.
Julia, next question over here.
Hi, Kate from Fightful. Julie, I think a lot of people are on the same page in that you have been one of the most improved wrestlers over the past year. Congratulations on your success tonight and all of that. And just looking back, it is kind of an end of the year question, I guess, as we're wrapping up here. Can you just talk to us a little bit about what that process has been like as you have grown so much in the ring character-wise and just become a really complete wrestler?
I can just say I'm really proud of myself. And if even me in the beginning of the year, I told myself I'd be ending the year TBS champion, I wouldn't believe you. So I'm just like, I looked back at some of my pictures going through my phone, just seeing where I was, and I was like, wow, I'm a completely different person, and anything is possible.
Hi, Cresta Star from Fightful. First of all, congratulations on your victory over Abaddon. I would be remiss if I didn't say, why are we putting two equally bad people against each other? Have you ever thought about maybe you fit so seamlessly in House of Black? You ever thought about maybe leading your own faction?
Leaving the House of Black?
You fit so seamlessly in House of Black. Have you ever thought about leading your own faction at some point?
Leading my own faction, said leaving the House of Black. Oh, I don't think I could ever leave House of Black, but yeah, I don't know. I think right now I'm just focused on being champion and doing the best I can at being a champion. I like to take things one day at a time. So maybe a faction is in my future, but right now I'm focused on this and focused on what I can do and representing the house.
Hi, Julia. Colin Tessier of Wrestle and Fightful. Coming off of a breakout year in 2023, how do you think you're going to keep your momentum going next year? Do you have any goals you have in mind, or ways to kind of just keep progressing forward in the year ahead?
I think one of my big goals for myself next year is maybe to wrestle at Wembley. That's up to Tony, though. I would love to wrestle at Wembley, and I'd love to keep my streak as a TBS champion going.
Hi, Phil Strom from USA Today Sports Media Group. Julia, congratulations on the match tonight. You and Abaddon are both newer in your careers, wrestlers that we've seen develop through the Daily's Place era, through the dark and the dark elevation and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about what this moment tonight was like for you in the ring with her on this kind of a stage on AEW pay-per-view? Thank you.
Yeah, I think this is the first time me and Abaddon have ever wrestled one-on-one. So it's really cool to see two people that have been parallel in the Jacksonville days to now. So finally getting to wrestle each other. And it was great. We beat the crap out of each other. So it was fun. Thank you.
Julia?
Yeah.
Steve Fall again from Wrestling News Co. For question for both of you, the women's division is expanding, obviously growing, tag team championships. in the future, Tony?
I'm something I think that would be great. It definitely, we've shown we can expand our programming, and certainly there's been some of the best, I think, matches and some of the most exciting rivalries we've ever had in the women's division just in recent weeks and months. And Julia Hart, as the TBS champion, has been at the epicenter of that, a huge, huge part of it. So absolutely, I think that would be tremendous, and it's something I'm very open to doing. I think it would be great, and there's a lot of great tandems, some that are active right now that could be great for that, and there's also some that haven't teamed in a while that could be great for that. People that could become, absolutely. That's more, a lot of other examples. Sure, that's a fine picture, so that I do think there's a lot of great opportunities there, and it's something certainly to keep an eye on.
More over here.
Carlos Montosa, Flex Sessions. Congratulations. Being the youngest to ever do this championship and having those goals that you won at Wembley, how do you see and how do you prepare yourself to be able to go into the ring with more experienced wrestlers and go toe-to-toe with them, and at the end of the day, end up with the victory?
Well, I can tell you, I watch every single one of their matches before I step in the ring with them, study them, figure out what I can get the advantage on. I think that's probably my biggest tactic, is just trying to watch every single match I can find of that person just to know what they do.
Hey, Julia, Graham Matthews with Bleacher Report. Just talking about the aforementioned criticisms of the women's division this past year and the improvement and other areas that can be improved upon, stuff like that. As a champion, going into a match like this on pay-per-view, like hearing the criticisms from fans on social media, stuff like that, is that something for you personally that you take to heart and want to go out there and have a better match, or is it something that you don't really involve yourself with specifically?
When it comes to the internet, it's different because at the end of the day, the only person's opinion that matters is Tony and myself. So whatever, the internet's always going to have an opinion on you. It's going to be negative. It's going to be positive, and they can think whatever they want, because I also remember being a fan and I thought I knew everything as well. And not a fan doesn't know everything. So, but I do know Tony's my boss, and I'm going to, he says I do a good job, I believe him. If I tell myself I do a good job, that's all that matters. And the fans, they can say whatever they want. So
You're doing great. And I think that's one thing we unanimously, the fans and me, and hopefully you two, we all can agree on, is you're doing fantastic, Julia. You're a great champion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, any other questions? That was pretty natural applause break, but any other great questions for the champion? These have been great questions for Julia. Thank you very much, champ.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot those were on. Jeez. So comfortable. Hey, thanks. I have hat hair. Good. Oh, man. Speaking of hats, speaking of great stars, top stars in AEW. Thank you, sir. Great to be joined by Swerve Strickland.
Hi, Swerve. Contest of Wrestling and Fightful. Congratulations on your win tonight. Just want to know what your initial reaction was when you found out about Keith Lee's injury. Obviously, that's a match that fans have wanted to see for a long time, and we thought we were going to get tonight. And now with Keith Lee being unable to compete, looks like we're going to have to wait a little longer. So I just want to see what your initial reaction was.
It's quite unfortunate. I'm done waiting though. Like, I don't wait on anybody. For me, I've been waiting for a while now, and now I have my sights set on something else, and that's championship gold. So either Keith's going to have to work harder than ever in 2024 to reach me at that point, or reach to the championship, or do something. But I'm not waiting on anybody. And if the match happens, he's going to have to work hard to get to me at this point.
Hey, Swerve. First time, long time. Rich Stamboli and Matt Men podcast. What's the first thing that goes through your mind in the morning? And what's the last thing that goes through your mind at night?
In the morning, I have a lot of things to accomplish. First thing is just like working on how to improve myself. What can I do to start my day to improve and get to the next level? That's not just a physical thing. That's just not a career thing. That's a mental thing as well. My mental has to be on 12, 15, 20 different things all at the same time, so I'm always looking to improve. And then last thing I'm like honestly going through my mind is just like, how do I make a change, whether it's in my life, whether it's in my career, my job, AEW, like music, it's podcasting, or whatever I'm going to do next. I want to try to always make an impact and a change and do something unique that nobody else is really doing, and that's unique to me.
Rob, with USA Today Sports Media Group, what kind of timeline do you think you have to get to the AEW World Championship in 2024?
Timeline wise, it starts tomorrow, truth be told. Like whatever it is, however long it's going to take, I'll just know it's going to start tomorrow. Like that's what I wake up for. Tonight, I felt like my time was wasted, and my time is very valuable to me. And as Dustin Rhodes can see that, he paid for that because he got in my way. I spent 2 months on the Continental Classic going after championship world, and I was like, hey, I was the one that got pinned the least in the entire tournament. Only one that took one pin in the entire tournament, full of like aces of not just AEW, but in the entire industry. And that says something to me. That says that I'm worth something. And that says that my time is worth something. So Dustin trying to be the noble guy and come up and step to me like that, he had to pay for that. That goes to show the world, like, I'm not playing anymore. 2024 is where things get direct. No subliminal shit. It's direct. And I'm standing on that.
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer. It's a two-part question, one for Swerve, one for Tony. First question for Swerve is, you started at the end of last year, obviously pretty much breaking up with Keith Lee and going as a single with the Mogul affiliates, and then obviously merging to the Mogul Embassy. Kind of reflect a little bit on this year where you kind of started from here to where you are now, where basically people are saying that you are the guy. Basically, you're ready to be the guy in this company. And then the second question I had just for Tony, in regards to the Keith Lee injury, can you just talk about the process of, because he did post on Twitter that he wanted to go and he was going to try to go, and then about an hour later it turned out no, you guys did it clear. What is the process in regards to the doctors and obviously the staff to basically take the decision out of wrestler? Because I'm pretty sure Keith wanted to wrestle tonight.
Absolutely.
But it's a situation where you guys took it out of his hand.
That was the case, and it resulted in changes, and it was big for Dustin to step up because I think the fans really wanted to see a great match. Dustin helped deliver it, but also I think the fans, it was very obvious the fans wanted to see Swerve wrestle, and that is something that fans are paying to see, which is really bodes well for AEW. It's been a great year for us, and he's been a huge part of it. I think Keith absolutely did want to wrestle. There is a process there, and it involves a doctor examining the wrestler every time before they go out and wrestle, but also keeping in touch with them during the week. And Keith mentioned he got injured in his match at Final Battle. He had a great match with Shane Taylor, a hard-hitting match in Dallas at Final Battle. And then after that, Keith had gotten back in the ring and had a great match with Brian Cage, did a great number on Collision. And I was really excited, of course, like Swerve said, he's red hot. And with Swerve having the best record of all coming out of the Continental Classic in terms of wins, losses, but not actually being in the Continental Classic final based on how the league finals played out, I thought it made sense to have this great resolution. Talk about World's End. It was something people wanted to see, and the timing was right, and Keith had really been getting it going on Collision. And I thought it was going to be a true collision of sorts to have Keith Lee and Swerve. But Keith today, when he went in to see the doctor, his injury had gotten worse during the week, and really it was worse than it was after the Shane Taylor match, and it was worse than it was before, or after the Brian Cage match, this swelling had gone up. And with the swelling being what it was, the doctor didn't feel comfortable clearing Keith. So it's a tough call, but the doctor did what he thought was right. And I respect the medical team's decision. And, I thought it was still big for Swerve to go out there and get that massive reaction and inflict a lot of violence, which is what people wanted to see Swerve do.
In regards to your question about earlier this year, I adapt and I overcome. It's been military instilled in me, and that's something I live and die by. Like, things ain't always going to go my way, but I'm still here because things don't always go my way, and I figure it out anyway. Things don't go my way in AEW, I figure it out anyway. Things don't go my way in life, I figured it out. And that's why I'm still here, and that's why I'm still growing. Anybody that keeps like trying to say that I'm not the one that should be in the position that I am, or anybody has any doubts or this won't happen, like, I save all that because I always figure it out. I'm smart enough, I'm talented enough, I'm unique enough, and I built myself from ground up, and I've always figured it out.
Gray Matthews with Bleach Report. Swerve, first for you. Just talking about the reaction that you got tonight, massively favorable. Considering throughout most of the year you've been rejecting the fans, now kind of accepting the fans. Talk about your standpoint as far as, like, are you accepting the newfound fan support, or do you not really care about it too much? And then for Tony, talking about the Keith Lee match, mentioning earlier that he was injured at Final Battle against Shane Taylor. He had mentioned in his tweet that he was injured initially last year at the September Grand Slam event. Was it like an injury that was re-aggravated or a different injury? Just talking about that process a little bit.
Well, Keith's been working through an injury, which is why he hasn't been on sometimes on TV the weeks we've wanted to have him there. And again, just speaking to that injury, without disclosing too much of his personal information, like he said, he's been dealing with an injury. It's been sticking with him for a while, and he's had some really hard-hitting matches lately against some big competitors. This was obviously one he had said he really wanted, and I think he clearly came looking for a fight today, but the doctors just didn't feel comfortable, given, again, the swelling and where it was at, that he'd be out there for the match. I think, like you said, Swerve, and I would let him certainly speak at length to this. The crowd certainly has built a very powerful connection with him, and it's really something telling, and it's not at all unexpected, because this company at Revolution 22, we were just in Orlando, and this past week, the league finals took place in the same building where Swerve first arrived and signed his AEW contract at Revolution 22. And it was actually the very first thing I said when I saw you. And it meant a lot. And this company really believes in you, and we've certainly been rewarded. Thank you.
And from what you were saying, the people believe and they feel me. And regardless of what I do, they feel and understand everything that I do. They know they're not going to get like anything cheap out of me. Nothing about me is cheap. And I feel like the fans felt sometimes things aren't delivered in a very fulfilling way. And I fulfill everything. Whether they like my methods or not, they understand and they feel me.
Hi, question for Tony about Swerve's opponent tonight. Can you clarify the status of Dustin Rhodes with AEW? I know back in 2022, he was talking about wrapping up by the end of 2023. Then there were some reports that he might be extended through 2024. Where does Dustin Rhodes stand with AEW?
Dustin's a great part of AEW, and Dustin volunteered to step up and do this, which I thought stepped up in a major way for us. And really, I thought it showed what a great company person Dustin is. Dustin's a great part of AEW, both in the office. Dustin's a great coach to the women and men in AEW, and a great wrestler. And, even though that was a hard-hitting battle, I think everybody, even Swerve, has a lot of respect for Dustin. He's a great part of what we do here in AEW. So very fortunate to have him. And I thought it was big for him to step up and still give the fans that violent spectacle from Swerve people have come to expect.
I respected Dustin for years. Like, he's part of one of the first tape studies I've ever done when getting into this business. I respect the hell out of him for what he's done and what he's been doing in AEW. That doesn't mean that he can't get that either. He can't get like worked on either by me. It's not. It's either him or me. And now it's either him or the championship. So don't stand in the way of my championship.
Joel Torres contra Lona. Obviously, the fans' reaction has been great tonight. We saw that, but also you have had great matches. For example, last month at Full Gear was amazing. Tonight, all as well. New Year's resolution 2024 for you.
First African American AEW World Champion.
Tyler, Fox 5. So you've mentioned a lot about figuring it out as we go and things not necessarily going as planned. But we've already heard a lot of talk about going future into 2024 with the Wembley show coming up. All things put aside, titles put aside, if you had your pick of your one-on-one match you want going into Wembley, who do you got?
If I had to go to Wembley, my honest pick, I still want my win back from Bryan Danielson.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Swerve is great. Speaking of the Rising Stars, ladies and gentlemen, Rising Star of the Continental Classic. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, we're at.
Hi, Kate from Fightful. You mentioned in an interview this year that your contract is up at the end of the year, and I just wanted to touch base about that and ask if you had any kind of immediate aspirations for 2024 coming up.
Yeah, obviously that's a big deal, and not just in wrestling, just in life. Your contract being up, it's a very big deal, and I just want to prove over this next year that I can be an asset. I'm somebody that can be built around, and I think I've been doing that for the past month or so.
I agree.
Hi, Cresta from Fightful here. You in the Continental Classic was amazing, phenomenal, even though you lost. I want to ask you going forward, are you going to be giving dance classes? Because we all love you dancing. And also, do you think people will put more respect on your name now, considering the performance you had throughout the entire tournament?
Probably no dance classes in the near future, but I definitely think more people have been able to see what I can do over the past month. I think when I came into AEW, I was given a lot of big opportunities right off the bat that I'm very grateful for. And, like I said, opportunity here gets harder and harder to come by every week. The roster gets bigger and bigger, and I think it's great. I think competition's amazing, but it means that, you get less opportunity. And I went a year where I was hungry for opportunity, and I just wanted more. And the Continental Classic is something that, there's nothing more valuable being a TV wrestler than being able to wrestle 5 weeks on TV in a row. And to be able to show what I can do 5 weeks in a row, night in, night out, against some of the best wrestlers in the world, I think that's crazy valuable. Like, that's worth millions and millions of dollars. And I definitely think I was able to show more people like what I can do. And I hope people put more respect on my name since then. What do you guys think? Yeah. I hope so.
We leave with the Wrestling Observer. Now, this is another two-part question, one for Danny and also one for Tony in regards to, and it's almost kind of the same thing. Over the 5 weeks of the Continental Classic, there was a couple of features that we don't really see on AEW TV that much, and that's some of the YouTube videos of kind of showing you after your defeats and after your win, and kind of growing and kind of basically. Because again, when you first came in, you were just basically you were part with 2.0. You came in basically and then kind of morphed with the JS, but this was really the first time we were able to really kind of see the real Daniel Garcia, especially after those matches. Do you feel that that's a part that you're very happy that you're able to go ahead and show to the audience? And then for Tony, in regards to, we obviously it was a big success with what they did, and with all the videos and everything like that. Are we going to see more of that integrated into the program? Because again, I really do feel that it was a major step to kind of almost go with the wrestler on their journey through the tournament as Danny did.
Absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I was personally just sick of pretending. I feel like, that's kind of our jobs as performers, but I was sick of putting up a front all the time. I was sick of, trying to be a tough guy, trying to put on a front for the camera, like whenever it was in front of me. And the first time I did that interview, it was after my match with MJF in Portland, which I flew my mom out for. So, I mean, afterwards, it was just true, real emotion. It was how I was feeling. It was something that, it was my first big opportunity in a couple months at AEW. So, I mean, all that was just true emotion. And then I think after that promo, after that little clip, they saw the success of that and they started getting more and more after the Continental Classics. They kept getting me for videos afterwards. And every time it was just my immediate thoughts. It wasn't anything that I planned to say. It wasn't any like narrative that I was trying to push, like any storyline or anything. It was just how I was feeling. And I think that's when I've been at my most successful, when I show you guys how I'm really feeling. I think we're all human beings with real emotions and with real feelings. And that's just what I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys that I'm not a tough guy all the time. I'm not somebody who just dances. I'm not somebody who is perfect all the time. I'm an imperfect person like we all are. And that's just what I wanted to show you guys. We are, we feel stuff too. I'm sick of putting up a front and I'm not going to do it no more.
And then, by the way, I was just finishing out Corey's question there. I do think, yes, it added a lot to the show, and I expect to see more of those kinds of promos. The stuff we shoot after the matches is fantastic, and I think we built a good cadence too, because what we did very frequently was show some of the promos from the Collision Blue League matches on Dynamite, and we showed some of the promos from the Dynamite Gold League matches on Collision, and got kind of a good cadence to build from show to show and film those promos after the matches and then ran them in the next show, promoting show to show. And I thought we built something very nice there, and I'd love to see that continue. Some of these great promos after great matches on Dynamite, seeing those on Collision, great promos after matches on Collision, seeing those on Dynamite. I think it's a great way to link the shows up and also capture, really, like Daniel said, these real moments and hear from these great wrestlers after these great matches and these great moments. And I think it can help the wrestlers, and also it's great for the storytelling. And we have a great backstage crew. They do a great job filming these interviews. And, that was some of the great content outside of the ring on the Continental Classic, which I also think was a great product in the ring.
And I personally just love very stripped down things. So I think it's really cool, just going to the back in a natural environment. And, it's just you and the camera. It's no interviewer. It's no LED lights. It's just a very stripped down version of a television show. And I think that's all this needs to be sometimes. Not all the time. Sometimes it's all it needs to be, though.
Hey, Chris Welch with The Verge. Tony, can you talk about Fight Forever for a minute? It seems like your plan is not to put out like a new game every year, so it seems. So like, what does 2024 look like? Just like when it comes to the game, like he's not in the game, Swerve's not in the games. Like, what are your plans for 2024 when it comes to Fight Forever and like that whole division at large, AEW games?
Great question. So there are some top stars, great examples. I think we're going to continue adding stars and doing downloadable packs and featuring more people in the game. But I think those are great examples of people that we could utilize, great people would want to see in the game in the future. We'll continue adding people for Fight Forever. It's our first ever video game release. It's been distributed all over the world. We sold so many copies and continued the sales through the holiday season. And that was our beginning of AEW games as far as a console game launch. We've launched other properties before that, but that was certainly our most ambitious project. And now I think it's the beginning. And certainly I think we will be supporting Fight Forever for a really, really long time. And the next time we come back, I expect someday in the future we would come back with a console game. But for the foreseeable future, all of the resources really into keeping Fight Forever and, really updating that game and doing the best we can with people who bought Fight Forever, adding the great names, keeping it current.
Carlos Montosa, Flex Sessions. Talking about mental health, and I know that there's a lot of people watching us right now. What are those things that you do that you can recommend to those people doing and help them out? Because we know sometimes they get stuck and they get depressed and they don't know how to get out of that dark place. How are you able to manage that and be yourself and just let it go?
Yeah, I'm no mental health expert. My advice isn't probably the best. It's something that I still work on every single day. But I think the best advice I could give is just be open and honest with yourself and open and honest with others. Like, be vulnerable with what you're going through. Don't try to fool yourself into thinking you're okay when you're clearly not. And don't try to, present that you're okay to others when you're not. I think it's good to just be honest and be vulnerable. I think the world would be a much better place if everyone was a little bit more honest and sincere with their feelings.
Hi, Daniel.
Hey, Kimmy.
So back at Forbidden Door, you tweeted that your one goal this year was to get on a pay-per-view. And not only did you get on another one, you won.
Yeah. Let's go.
Now, what does it feel like to finally get your big pay-per-view win?
Man, it feels so cool. I went through like a long streak where I wasn't on a pay-per-view. I did Double or Nothing in Vegas, Anarchy in the Arena. Then I went about a full year and did Forbidden Door this past summer. And now I'm doing World's End here in Long Island. And to get the win, it feels great. Like I said, I just want to be somebody who proves that can be built around. I feel like I'm a person who, I can be a system player. I'm somebody that you can like plug in and can do kind of like every little job. But I am somebody that can do the job. I am somebody that can do the highest job in the company at a very high level. I think I can do everything at a very high level. And I just want to prove that. I want to prove it to all you guys. I want to prove it to Tony. I want to prove it to everybody in the locker room. I'm somebody that, wants to fight for everybody who loves AEW. It's not just for myself. I want to fight for everybody who loves this product as much as I do. So it feels great. Yeah.
It's great.
Really great. Really great.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next time we go.
Easy, right?
Thanks. That's great. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And now I can talk a little bit about World's End. It was great having some of the top stars from World's End in the show up here, I thought. And the pay-per-view has been a huge success for us. Really a great time for the company. Just to run down some details before I start taking questions about some of the exciting things happening. Just to recap, this past week was a really great week for AEW across the board in terms of the business. On Saturday last week, we posted a top 10 number from the chart I've seen for Collision. Collision finished ahead of the NBA. Collision finished ahead of a lot of the top sports against top football competition. Third straight week, the Collision rating had gone up. And we've seen the Collision rating going up against the toughest football competition of the year. Typically, the NFL, number one, always the toughest media property in the world, and college football bowl games are the toughest things you can go up against. But the Collision rating has continued to go up. I think it's a tribute to the great wrestling we've been putting on there. The Continental Classic is a great part of it. The women's division has been on fire. A lot of great people doing great work. And so I think the recent run of Collisions there has been some of the best TV we've ever done. And like I said, 3 straight weeks, the rating has gone up. And this week to have a top 10 finish and beat out NBA and a lot of other top competition, that was really great for AEW. Then with Dynamite, after posting the biggest Collision rating since October and going up again week after week, despite the toughest competition of the year, Dynamite, we posted our biggest rating since Grand Slam in September. So over 3 months, a really, really strong run of television culminated in this big week, the biggest week of ratings we've had in months, and really a strong week for momentum for the company. Then coming here tonight, we had a sellout show. It was a huge deal for the company. The crowd was tremendous. And in addition to the sellout live crowd we had here at Nassau Coliseum, which was a dream come true to work here in this building for so many of the great wrestlers, it was a really big deal to have the sellout crowd. And then the pay-per-view, which we haven't talked that much about. The pay-per-view was a huge hit. The pay-per-view will end up, it's right now, it looks like about the same as Full Gear, which was the biggest pay-per-view we've had since All In Wembley Stadium. All of these pay-per-views have been huge hits. We've really great streak of shows all year, all the pay-per-views over 100,000 buys. This one way over that. And again, this will probably end up very close to Full Gear, which was our biggest pay-per-view since All In Wembley, which is one of the top 2 AEW pay-per-views of all time. So we're finishing the biggest year of AEW on pay-per-view we've ever had. So it's been a tremendous business year. Thanks to all of you and, of course, all the great wrestlers and this great staff. And before I also get too deep into the questions, I would love to talk about some people. We have some people in particular in the company, a few that come to mind I just wanted to say some words about. One who was not either in the room or featured necessarily in the card tonight, but has been a part of AEW since the beginning. At the end of the year, QT Marshall, his contract's up. Somebody I really respect. The door would always be open for QT to come back in any capacity, wrestling and coaching. I know he wants to go out and ply his trade, and he's somebody that has done a great job. When you see people like Julia Hart sitting here next to me, her development, QT had such a huge hand in that, and a lot of the great wrestlers here. And I know he wants to go out and focus on his wrestling career, but he's also been a huge part of AEW in addition to the wrestling as a coach. He's been in great matches, the Bunkhouse match, and so many great matches on TV. He's done great work internationally, and I consider him a good friend. And, you know, QT, his contract is up, but I would welcome QT back here anytime. And I think any wrestling company in the world would be very lucky to have him. And always will wish him the best and hopefully see him again, either here or any place down the road, because anybody that has QT would be very fortunate. Also, you know, coming at the end of the year, this is like World's End. First time we've done this pay-per-view, December 30th. Typically in sports, wrestling, entertainment, all kinds of trades, you'll see some contract cycle end at the end of the year. It's just nature of business. For some reason, I don't know why, but a lot of contracts tend to expire December 31st. It's just how things go. And for us, maybe in part because this is actually going to be the 5-year anniversary of the company. So looking at where we are, I'll talk a lot about the 5-year anniversary of the company and the health of the company, where we stand. But QT was a huge part of the whole 5-year run, and I want to thank him because it's been a great 5 years. And again, he'd be welcome back anytime. Somebody who has not been with us the entire 5 years, but they've been with us about half the time, and they've been outstanding, and somebody I really respect, and I don't expect to see necessarily, as it stands right now, renewing the contract, but somebody that I have a great amount of respect for and would be parting on good terms and was tremendous and was here and did wrestle tonight is Andrade El Idolo. Andrade El Idolo's contract is up at the end of the year. We've had great talks. I have a ton of respect for Andrade El Idolo. He's been a huge performer in the Continental Classic week after week. I talked about this great run Collision's been on. Andrade El Idolo has been a huge part of it. Also has wrestled on the other shows and the Blue League of the Continental Classic. He's outstanding. I wanted to keep him involved at the top. And if we had been able to reach an agreement, certainly he would be somebody we would slot in a prominent position. I think we did everything we could to show Andrade El Idolo we really do value him. And I think this last run he's had in recent months has been tremendous. And if this is going to be the way he's going to leave AEW, talk about leaving on a high note, because he had a great match with Miro tonight, something that I think people had wanted to see for a long time. Miro had said he was going to respect the Continental Classic in part because I demanded it. I wasn't going to let him, affect the wrestling and have outside interference because there were no personal grudges. There was not supposed to be anybody interfering. It was just great wrestling. I thought Andrade's matches, Andrade El Idolo, week after week, tremendous in the Continental Classic. We also had talked to CMLL and said I would love to set that up because Andrade El Idolo had a great history there. La Sombra has a great history in Mexico. I am a big fan of his, and I thought that was something very nice we were able to put together. I don't know exactly what the future of that would be, but I do know that Andrade El Idolo is a great wrestler. I appreciated him coming and having such a great match tonight. And if that was his last match in AEW, again, he left on a very high note over these recent months with the Continental Classic, the great matches he's had really since the beginning of Collision, week in, week out, and the great match tonight, certainly with Miro. And also, speaking of people finishing up their run and somebody who's here, somebody I have a lot of respect for, and what a way to finish your 5-year run in AEW with a sellout, Rafael Morphy, who has been our head of live events for 5 years. And he left on the highest of high notes with a hometown sellout in New York, and he's been a huge part of AEW too. And whether it was here, in New York or all across the continent, all across the world, Raf has been a huge part of the growth of AEW from day one. And for 5 years, I've been lucky to work beside Raphael, and he's taken on a new position outside of pro wrestling at another great venue. And they'll be very fortunate to have him. Anybody that works with Raphael would be very fortunate to have him, and I'll miss him very much, and we all will. Thank you, Raph. That's great. And so with that, it's been, like I said, it's been a great 5 years for AEW, closing this year on a real high note in terms of the business, high points, going out very hot with a hot pay-per-view, hot TV ratings. And it's great to see all of you. So with that, I can visit with you and take your questions.
Brian Solomon, the Wrestling News. I had a question that it was a follow-up actually to something that you talked about during the media call earlier this week relating to the booking duties in the company. You mentioned that recently you've been getting some help, some guidance from other people like Bryan Danielson, Sanjay Dutt, getting kind of I want to know if going forward you see the booking as being more of like a committee type situation or a group, and if you ever see yourself at any point stepping back from it entirely.
It's a great question. I mean, it's the same process it's always been. There's been different people in the room throughout the proper. I think I've always come in with an outline of ideas, and I'll talk through and talk ideas with the people in the room. And it's some people that weren't here at the beginning, like Bryan Danielson's a great example that wasn't here at the beginning of AEW, but would have fit in the whole time. In his mind, I would have gladly discussed wrestling ideas with at any time. So really, for the last several years, I think it's been a pretty consistent process. It's just the people that I'm, talking to. QT would have been somebody that, if he was still here every week, would be in the room with us. And I'll come in with an outline of ideas week to week and talk through things. We have a great group of people. So I think it's been really strong. And certainly right now, the company this week, you'd say, is on one of the hottest runs in terms of business we've been on. So to come in with the shows really looking across the board, really strong business, pay-per-view TV, and a sellout crowd tonight, feeling really good about what we're doing. So I think going into 2024, things have been on a really good run. The Continental Classic in particular was something I felt really strongly about and wanted to put together what I felt like was the best sports-based product to give AEW fans and wrestling fans all over the world something to really look forward to through the holiday season. And I think the Continental Classic worked. And when you look at the ratings of the shows and the way things have delivered, I think it was really an added element on top of everything we've been doing that really put us over the top now to have this run where you across the board, the TV ratings for Collision, for Dynamite, the pay-per-view buy rate tonight, the sellout crowd, everything says we're pointing in a good direction. Having a great champion like Samoa Joe, when you've been having all these great hard-hitting matches on TV every week and setting the tone, he was not somebody that was in the Continental Classic. Obviously, he's been chasing the world title, but now we have a very interesting scene. You have those dozen competitors that we've been highlighting week to week. You have certainly Samoa Joe now coming into focus as the world champion, Eddie Kingston coming out with the Continental Crown. I think we have a really strong set of champions there. And of course, being up here with Toni Storm and Julia Hart, I think both of them have been running really hot. It was great to have, I thought, 3 strong matches across the women's division tonight, and we're only getting started there. I think things have been really heating up there. We had injuries at one point. It's great to get Thunder Rosa back, and it was great to see her in San Antonio, like I said, for a show that did a great rating and performed very well. But also, we've been missing Thunder Rosa, a former world champion, missing Dr. Britt Baker, missing Jamie Hayter. And I think it's so much credit to the whole women's locker room when you have timeless Toni Storm, Julia Hart, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, you have Abaddon, you have Riho, you have so many people stepping up across the division, certainly Sky Blue and so many others. And really, I think with all these names and all these people that have come in, had strong matches, and we also have Hikaru Shida coming back into the fold. Now Thunder Rosa's back, and then you talk 2 more former world champions in Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, plus the fact that I'm going to be very active in free agency in 2024. I can assure you that it's going to be, I believe, the best run in the history of the women's division. I think that's really in a very strong place. I believe that Samoa Joe is exactly the kind of champion, first of all, across this past year, we've had a really great year. We've hit all kinds of heights, and you have to really give credit. I think throughout the year, there were so many great moments. Wembley Stadium, we set the record for the all-time most tickets sold in the history of pro wrestling with 81,035 tickets sold. We had end of the year really on the hottest run of ratings in months and in a very good place with the TV product, beating some of the top sports leagues, giving us really good comps to take into next year, which is from a media rights standpoint and just from a business standpoint, 2024 is clearly the most important year in the history of AEW. So, I'm very grateful to all the wrestlers that made it possible. And I feel like we're in like a really, really good place right now. So certainly I think the process is similar. Some of the people have changed, but it's a constantly evolving thing. And I think we have a great group of people. So I think we'll, continue to evolve and grow as a company. But one thing I think we saw this year was leaning into a sports-based presentation at times was very, very strong. We had a great year, I thought, in terms of ending on a really high note. And also, as I said, I think probably the best year for growing the women's division. And I believe when the company gets completely healthy, getting back those stars I mentioned, we just got Thunder Rosa back, but getting Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter back, but also getting on the men's side, getting Kenny Omega and Pac and Adam Cole and Bandito and so many other people we really believe in. And there's a handful of others too. I think it's going to really help push us in such a strong direction. And I believe, like I said, 2024 being the most important year in the history of AEW, it's important to look back at what we've accomplished over the last 5 years and say that going into this year, we're in a great position. Thanks.
Hey, Tony Filstrom from USA Today Sports Media Group. A lot of chatter today on social media regarding Chris Jericho. Is Chris Jericho or was Chris Jericho at any time under any internal investigation for sexual misconduct, any other type of misconduct over the course of his tenure in AEW?
I can't speak to internet and unsourced rumors. I think I spoke earlier to Kevin and mentioned the policy we have in place and the disciplinary process. We've always followed that, and I believe AEW is the safest wrestling company in the world, and we have the best track record for safety, and I would hold it up to anybody. And anytime anybody has any kind of complaint, they have an open door again to say it to me or to anyone in the office, and we would look into it anytime. So again, just Kevin earlier asked about that policy, and I think I gave a pretty robust answer on that, and it would apply here too. Thanks.
Hey, Tony.
Oh, hey. He held his hand up. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I got the microphone though.
Hey,
Tony. Big hello. Rich, Batman Podcast. You, AEW, have been responsible for tremendous moments in professional wrestling for the past 5 years, right? Now, apart from the business and the numbers, personally, I want to know, how does that 14-year-old Tony Khan feel on the inside, like right now?
So good. So good. It's pretty great. It's a great question. It's a great way to end the year, and the sellout crowd and the numbers. I mean, it's, it feels really good. It's really important for the locker room to see that what we're doing is working. And like for all the women and men in AEW, I think everybody could rally around and see like when Collision did that number, and that was a great show, and Collision's been on a great run of shows. And then for that crew to come together in San Antonio, post that number over the holidays, beat the NBA, finish in the top 10, like up against all the football after the week before going up against NFL, when every metric in wrestling history, we have decades of history that says when wrestling goes up against the NFL that the wrestling rating will go down. And this time the wrestling rating went up, and it spoke to the quality of the show and how excited people were about those matches, the Continental Classic, what the women are doing, and everyone across the show, the tag team division, just some great things. And there've been a great group of people throughout the year. Also a great group of champions. I thought that, for me, week to week have just been absolutely delivering. And, we have some champions that, we're not up here in the scrum, I think, that have done a great job. Champions like Ricky Starks, Big Bill have been excellent. Christian Cage is somebody who's maintained a high standard. And then I believe, in addition to the great champions, some people that have held championships, MJF, what a huge part of AEW MJF has been. What a huge part of AEW FTR are week to week. And there's so many great examples of this. So like when we posted the Collision rating, that felt so good. And then to follow that up and see the Dynamite rating and see Biggest since Grand Slam, that New Year's Smash was truly a smash hit, and get the accolades from the network and know what that means for the whole crew, the wrestlers and the staff and everybody who works here, and everybody can rally around that for the future, all the women and men in the company, the wrestlers, the staff. That's so great. And that's the part I never imagined. Because like when you're like writing Dynamites when you're like 12, 13 years old in the back of the classroom, and this is your like lifelong dream, the part you don't account for, good and bad, and the part nobody really accounts for, good and bad, when they're like thinking about it, but the part that's the most different from like imagining what it would be like to do it versus actually doing it, it's the real people, good and bad. It's not easy sometimes. Sometimes it's the easiest thing in the world. You have like Tony Storm come up and like, one of the greatest people of all time. And like, there's moments like that, and Tony Storm gives you your hat and sunglasses. Okay, that's pretty easy. That's fun, right? That's a fun day at the office. There's days that always aren't the most fun day at the office, but what I love about it is the people, the fans, because I'm a wrestling fan. And like I said, the last time I was up here with you, I know that doing it 365 days a year, it's like hard to be a wrestling fan. It is. It's hard to maintain that 365 days a year. And one of the things I was really proud of with the Continental Classic is that I felt like there were people that, first of all, some people that I know because the ratings kept going up. There were people that was drawing in by focusing on those great matches, by having all these great rivalries developing in the women's division, even with some of the big stars being out, having Thunder Rosa then coming back from the injury, and having all these great young women rising to the top. Even Tony Storm, I'm talking about somebody in her 20s who has certainly, to say the least, an old soul, and is truly timeless person. It's really cool. So I'm so happy for the crew, and can't even begin to name all the wrestlers and people that I'm happy for, but also the backstage people. So then those ratings were really big. And then the sellout crowd and the big walk up, and to move, about 1,500 tickets since Christmas, and to sell the thing out on the walk up. That's pretty cool. And then the kicker was when they said the pay-per-view might end up being even bigger than Full Gear. Could end up being, it's right there with Full Gear, neck and neck. Was right to be the biggest since All In. That's a big deal. And, I do have to say, just what a big deal it is also going into 2024, because when you're in the position, the other thing you don't think about when you're doing it on paper is that you're responsible for everyone's jobs. And I take that really seriously. And in a week where the ratings are up for Collision, the ratings are up for Dynamite, and the pay-per-view does a huge buy rate, and the pay-per-view sells out, that's as good as you can do. That's a clean sweep. That's as good as I can do my job for you. And it means the wrestlers did as good as they can do. And that means the team did as good as they can do. And it means that all the staff stepped up as great as they can. And it's such a good feeling to know that the pay-per-view buy rate was great. We sold out, and Dynamite Collision ratings are up, and it sets the table for next year, because we're going to come in and we have so many exciting things we're working on. 2024 is going to be the biggest year for AEW. Things really, we left in an exciting way, and it's only the beginning. There's going to be great changes. And for me, yeah, it feels so good, but that's the part I didn't expect, because when you're a kid, like you asked me about being 14 years old, I'm sitting in the back of, I spent Wednesday night. It's funny thinking of Wednesday nights, because I spent Wednesday nights in confirmation class, and I was writing Dynamites in the back of confirmation class in St. John's Lutheran School, and the Midnight Express against the Armstrong brothers, and to use the Von Erichs on, be in the back of the class and have the Von Erichs, and then actually have Kevin come and use Stranglehold in real life. That's a big, but the thing is, you always think that's cool. It is cool for me, but the thing that's actually makes it that much cooler is for the people, to see Tony Storm be able to live this out, to see Samoa Joe walk in with a world title, to see Swerve rising to where he's at, to see Julia Hart at 22 years old. And I give QT a lot of credit for that. And I also give Julia, most of all, a lot of credit for that. And House of Black, all of them have done great with Julia. And that's why I think when she said she sees herself as House of Black for life. And I think to have this crew come together the way they have, plus there were people that weren't here, were not on the show, and are going to be a major focus of the promotion going forward next year too, and are going to be stepping back into the spotlight. There's just so much to look forward to, and I'm excited for them. And that's what's really cool, because I love this place. I love the fans. And it meant the world that clearly something we did through November and December really captivated people for the TV ratings to hit highs, to be up year over year, which is hard to do in the wrestling business, and not a lot, frankly, right now, that's hard territory. I spoke to Brandon Thurston about that earlier this week. And after we talked, then we saw Dynamite was up year over year when we talked about the cable being down 20%, yet Dynamite's up 11. So it's like being, up even more. Pretty cool. And the best part of it is that means everybody's jobs are very, very secure, and that I can sleep a little bit easier knowing that the great work that all the women and men here did and the support of the wrestling fans means that we're going to be able to keep this thing going, and that there's that much more momentum for everybody to build on, to create more jobs and grow the company, and find more ways to support pro wrestling, more ways to support the wrestlers, and take care of this great staff who work through the holidays, because we have the best staff in the world here. This is the best place in the world. Thank you.
Tyler Dominic, Fox 5. So you've talked a lot about the ratings and how things are going to be changing going into 2024. We've also talked a lot about how people who have been here since the very beginning, a few important people both on and off screen, have been leaving AEW. From a showrunner perspective, can you speak to how you go about with Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, as well as some TV specials and pay-per-views, how you go about making each show feel individual and unique, and making everything must-see while still having things be coherent over a week-to-week show?
It's a great question, and it's a real challenge. And I think that Dynamite and Collision in particular, being both 2-hour shows, have found a distinct identity. And I think both shows have gotten stronger, and I really love the way we ended the year. I thought both shows ended on a really strong run. I think with Collision, there's aspects of the production. There's this, whether it's the set, the theme song with Elton John, or the nature of the action, and even some of the wrestlers that are identified with each of the shows. Certainly, there's no exclusivity. People appear on both shows, but I do think there's some people that have strongly been identified with each show. FTR on Saturdays, how many great matches have we seen FTR have this year is a great example. And, I do think across the 2-hour shows, we've been able to distinguish them. Rampage, we always call the fastest 1 hour of wrestling. Certainly, there's been more of an emphasis lately on the Lucha Libre on Rampage, and I think that's been something really strong. And there's been a lot of great fast-paced action, Lucha Libre, and great high-flying, great matches like we saw with Top Flight against the Best Friends last night. And then for our pay-per-views, I think it's important to keep the field, very, very unique to each show. And, we've been able to add new events that have been very successful. Tonight felt like a major event. And tonight, the crowd, the sellout crowd, the New York environment being here around the holidays, and having some of these people with real connections, whether it was MJF and Samoa Joe and the connection that MJF has with his hometown crowd, Eddie Kingston, the way the New York crowd got behind Eddie Kingston, the love for Statlander and Willow, the two hometown heroes, and so many great moments. And wow, the love the crowd showed for Adam Copeland and Christian Cage in that match. I mean, there were just so many unique things about tonight, and the crowd was very special. But I think we have other shows, certainly the one that stands above everything and is really something I can't wait to have another chance to go back and have AEW at Wembley Stadium August 25th, 2024 for All In. And those tickets have been selling great, and it's amazing to have millions of dollars already advanced for a show that is 8 months away. And it's a great tribute. Again, Raph, thanks to all the great work you did to help. I know to send Raph off one more time, all the great work he did to help us make the first All In and this All In a great success. And, that environment, that sporting environment is so unique. I think at Forbidden Door, we've shown we can capture a unique feel for a wrestling event. This year, I thought Wrestle Dream also was a great new event, but we also have Double or Nothing, Revolution. Revolution's such a great event, and how special will it be to go back to where Sting had his first AEW match and have Sting wrap up his run in AEW 3 years later. And we'll see how that goes, 3 years for Sting. these shows have a great feel. They're very unique. And I really, really think that as we build more AEW content, we can, try to keep that feeling, keep distinct feeling. But something that really, especially with having Dynamite and Collision both being 2-hour wrestling shows, I think we've been able to give them a distinct feel. But the TV and the pay-per-view during this Collision era, when we went from doing 3 hours of TV to 5 hours, it's only gotten stronger. It's our best year on pay-per-view, and we've done some of our best pay-per-views ever this year. Thank you.
Hey, Tony. It's Brendan from WTF with Mark Maron. How are you?
Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. It was about a year ago we had you on, and you were talking about the show as a challenger brand, really. AEW as a challenger brand. And now congrats on entering your 5th year. But it kind of feels like you're not really a challenger brand anymore. You have your own identity. And I think everybody kind of talks about, what's going to happen going forward. It's kind of hard to tell the future, right? But without doing that, looking back at the past, in the past 5 years, what's happened during those 5 years that you're going to do differently moving ahead? Like, what are things that are going to be different just because you're 5 years older? And what are you personally thinking, well, I don't want to do that again. I want to do that differently, and the lessons you've learned?
I think certainly for me, I've tried to go through, there's examples of matches, moments that with the gift of hindsight that you'd always look back and say, what would I do differently? And I try to do that kind of evaluation after the shows and learn from it, learn from the things that are the best and learn from the things that are, that are the least best. And I think tonight there was so many great positives and the business has been on a hot run. Something that I really believe is that what we've been doing lately has been working really well on the shows, that we've been having hard-hitting great matches with the great women and men week after week, that we've been focusing on wrestlers that the crowd believes in. And I think that the people who've been on TV lately have been doing tremendous. We've seen a lot of people really raise their stock lately. And I think those are people that we can keep betting on. And some of the people that were up here with me tonight have been doing an excellent job. And I think they're trending in a great direction, which is why I wanted them to sit with me. I really appreciated when you had us on your show. I thought that was an incredible break for us. And it's nice to see you. I remember talking at length about my thoughts on being a challenger brand. I still think that at our heart, we are a challenger brand, and we have to constantly acknowledge that and fight with that chip on our shoulder. Swerve is a great representative of this company. Swerve has the exact same chip on his shoulder I do, and it fuels him. He believes he has to prove something every single day, and he pushes himself to do better and better and learn. And nobody's perfect and nobody does everything perfect, but I think Swerve is trending in a great direction. And I think that's representative of this company. It's a company that is, in the end, it is a company that has that challenger spirit that he maintains. And I believe that someday Swerve has everything it takes. He's a great example of somebody who could be a great champion, but that chip on his shoulder, that fuel that fires him, he's got to keep that spirit and keep that challenger spirit. And I think that's a big part of who he is. And I think that's a big part of AEW and who we are. And constantly evolving, changing, and trying to do our best. That's what we're about. And right now, the identity of the company going into 2024, I feel really, really great about it. And I feel great about the people that were up here with me and the people that weren't up here with me. I think right now, I feel really strongly about the people in AEW and also some of the people that could come to AEW. I think it's going to be a really great year for us. But I do think, like I said, the challenger spirit, it's important for us to keep that, even if we have built an identity, grown the business, and even if things are hot in many ways and we've had a great year. If you lose that challenger spirit, I think for us, the word that we've always thrown around a lot in the back is punk rock. And if you lose that punk rock feel, then I think you change what AEW is. So there's times where I felt myself getting away from it, and I've said, no, this is punk rock. And so I want it to be punk rock, and I think that's what we need to do here to set ourselves apart. It's good to see you.
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer. I just want to get a couple questions about the gate and attendance, you did mention it was a sellout. Do you have an official attendance and official gate for the event?
Well, it was the gate was I don't have the exact number on the gate, but it was a big gate. It was a sellout, and Raf, would I be comfortable? It was just under 10,000, close to 10, just around close to 10,000. I think over just around 10,000, close within earshot. Over 9,500, or closer to 10,000.
Yeah. And then the second question I have, again, there's bringing this up again, but it's just again there's a lot of stuff going on the internet right now, and there are a lot of questions about a lot of different people, and there are questions. Obviously, Chris Jericho was brought up earlier in the thing. Again, from as a general manager standpoint in this situation, can you confirm or deny that there's been an investigation with him, or has there ever been any accusations or anything like that in regards to Chris's behavior? And like I said, these are all basically internet, and again, there are people in this who have an agenda per se but again, these questions do need to be asked, and obviously, like I said, as respectfully as I want to be in the situation, is just to kind of just bring it up and just ask as best as we can, because again, there also was another situation. Former talent of AEW did post something that has been perceived as a confirmation of these allegations. So
I can't speak to that. I would just say what I had mentioned to Kevin earlier, that we have a disciplinary policy here. We have a disciplinary committee that things are referred to, and that everybody in AEW, anybody who's ever wrestled in AEW, has an open line to talk to me or this group, and always has. And that's how we've always acted, and that's why I believe AEW has the safest environment, and AEW is the safest place in pro wrestling, and it's why AEW has definitely the best safety record in wrestling, and I believe we maintain that. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. Colin of WrestleZone and Fightful. Great show tonight. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. You mentioned QT Marshall earlier, and other Raphael, as well as people who have been so important to the company that are leaving. There's been a lot of speculation, and MJF even said in his Players Tribune article that he's not really sure what's next. And we saw the end of the main event tonight. I just wanted to know if you could comment on MJF's status. And as a kind of a second part to it, how much did MJF's injury kind of throughout the build of this show impact kind of the road there? Because obviously we had the devil and everything, but MJF was obviously working through a number of injuries throughout that time. Thank you.
MJF's injury, absolutely a very big factor, but MJF wrestled through the injury and then had an amazing match tonight, wrestled through a match against one of the hardest hitting, best wrestlers of all time. And I believe Max is somebody who has a great heart and somebody who loves AEW. And I think everybody read that in the article. I can't speak to his future in 2024 here at this time, but I do think MJF has been a huge part of AEW for 5 years. And MJF is somebody also that is welcome in AEW and wanted in AEW for life, and is also a huge part of the growth of AEW and the success of the company. Thank you.
Hi, Tony. Kimmy Sokol from the Pop Break. Now, speaking about the women's division, you recently added a new championship to Ring of Honor. What was kind of the idea behind introducing the women's TV title?
It was a really great question. We've had so much great success in AEW, trying to feature the women and really spotlighting a lot of new stars, rising stars in AEW. And I think also in ROH, we've been trying to focus on spotlighting young stars, rising stars. And we have a great roster in Ring of Honor, a great roster of women and men. And I felt like with the way the company's going, with ROH having a mission, first of all, to feature great wrestling every Thursday on watchroh.com, but also building stars for the present. We have one of the greatest champions in all of wrestling in ROH. The women's world champion, Athena, has been dominant. I think Athena will take on all comers, but with the quality of the division, frankly, iron sharpens iron. And what we've seen, Athena having all these incredible matches, something it showed me is there's a whole division of stars. And I believe this division could support another great champion, a world television champion. And I think it's a great opportunity. And we've seen, just like in AEW, we have a great world champion with Tony Storm and a great TBS champion with Julia Hart. I think in ROH, we've got a great world champion in Athena, and we have a great roster of women that want to be the world TV champion. I brought a lot of the locker room together on a Saturday and unveiled the championship belt to them in the locker room before we unveiled it to the world, and the reaction was unanimously very, very excited. There's a lot of women in the locker room that want to fight for that ROH World Television title. And I think there's going to be great competition there. When you watch ROH week to week, you see several great women's matches every week, and you see the great competition. The roster is there, and I think we can support a great TV title. And it's something that I know the locker room is really excited about. Thank you.
Hey, Tony, Graham Matthews with Bleacher Report. Going off a follow-up question from earlier, as far as the sports, oriented feel going forward and kind of plans for 2024 going forward, kind of bringing back the feeling of 2019 as an alternative in the pro wrestling business, and what you plan to do in 2024 as far as, bringing back the win-loss, not records, those are obviously still a thing, but as the rankings that kind of went away a bit randomly about a year ago, maybe bringing those back, and, just kind of going off previous questions as far as, cutting down and limiting on the controversies and stuff that have already been discussed, and at least within controllable situations. Injuries and departures are obviously inevitable, but what can be done from your standpoint as a GM, as the owner of AEW, to kind of limit on this stuff going forward, and lessons you've learned to kind of cut down on this stuff going forward, the backstage drama, that is?
Well, the Continental Classic, as far as on screen, I think has created a great platform for awesome matches. And I think it also set a high standard with no outside interference and nobody allowed at ringside. And really, we saw these hard-hitting, clean wrestling matches, and we can continue that. Now, the Continental Classic is something that was a big success and is going to come back. But I think the spirit of competition and really the excitement around AEW is going to continue. So I have a lot of things up my sleeve, and I'm very excited. I think this year is going to be the very best of AEW, and we need to be at our very best. It's really important because the timing of hitting these high ratings, the time of the pay-per-view absolutely crushing it, that's by design. We needed to, and we took a big swing, and it paid off for us because we went into the end of the year, and it said, if we build it, they will come. And I asked, and you all put your money where your mouth is. So thank you very much. God bless you. People asked, and we were rewarded. I asked, and I said, I believe the Continental Classic, I think the fans will put their money where their mouth is, and they did. It was clearly demonstrated. To have the Collision ratings go up week after week after week, the last several weeks, as the competition ratcheted up and got more challenging, that was a great sign. And then to do the biggest Dynamite rating since Grand Slam this week, that's a big deal. And it's, to me, demonstrates, with the Continental Classic being a big part of it, that worked. And the spirit behind it, the competition, that worked. We've also put more and more of an emphasis week in, week out on the women's division, because I believe it's really important. We had to develop new stars when some of the top stars, arguably the three top stars in the division at one point, with three world champions, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa, all injured. We've had new faces step in. And in addition to, some of the great people we saw here tonight, like Timeless Tony Storm and Riho, who's been with us since the beginning, but came back from Japan and has been a big part of the TV lately. That's been great. And I think that, in particular, I can't say enough about, at 22 years old, what Julia Hart's doing. And I thought, it was great to get Julia Hart and Sky Blue, somebody else who's very young in the pro wrestling business. And as they've stepped up, I think the shows have stepped up. And we've seen, Chris Statlander and Willow have something special. I think a lot of people have really enjoyed Ruby Soho and Saraya. And in addition to in the ring, out of the ring, they've been delivering lately. And there's so many great things going on. But, it starts at the top with the champions of the company. And I think the women have been doing great. Tony Storm and Julia Hart. I think, it's important to say that stuff we've seen that's worked really well, there's a lot of it. And so right now, I think we want to lean into the things that have been successful for us right now. That's a lot of things we've been doing. But to your point, as far as what we can do in the future, I think building on what we did this week, because this has been the most successful business week for the company probably since we came back from England, which was one of the most successful weeks in the history of the business. Thanks. Thank you.
Hi, Kate from Fightful. Congratulations on a successful event today.
Okay, thank you.
Two-parter, because I'm greedy. The first one is, there was talk of an accelerated pay-per-view schedule heading into 2024. I was just wondering if there was anything that you would feel comfortable sharing about that, and the potential possibly of a super show for people that are into the interpromotional stuff. And then my other question is, in addition to Wendy Rector, as Tony Storm pointed out, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, there is a couple of big free agent names on the market. Mercedes Moné, of course, but Diana Perazu, of course, Camille. Anything that you would feel comfortable sharing in regards to those free agents as well?
I would say that you've just named some great wrestlers. I will be very active in the market, signing great wrestlers. I always have been whenever great names come up, and you can expect that. I really appreciate your questions. That's a great question. And your first question was a great question. This year was a huge year. This was our biggest year ever on pay-per-view. So thank you for the platform to talk about that, because it's a big risk for a company in this day and age to expand the pay-per-view calendar the way we did this year and talk about being rewarded. And tonight is a great example of that. You know, for the first few years of AEW, we had a quarterly pay-per-view calendar, of course, with Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear. And last year we expanded the calendar from 4 to 5 in partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that is our interpromotional super show of record. And that was the biggest debut any AEW pay-per-view had ever done. This year we came back and it was even bigger. The buy rate was even higher for the second year. So that had been an amazing launch. So we expanded from 4 to 5. This year it was a big swing. We went from 5 to 8. It worked incredibly well. All of these new pay-per-views were huge hits. All In now, that is All In is a platform that existed, but there had never been an AEW All In. And it was actually something that the Young Bucks and Cody had put together when they worked with ROH. And the video was actually in the ROH library. It was arguably one of the big assets, arguably maybe the biggest asset. And I would say that that alone was worth more than what I paid for ROH, which is less than 10% of what I've seen in the report. So I would say it was a big risk to expand from 5 to 8. And holy cow, did it work, because All In is one of our top 2 pay-per-views of all time, in addition to being the biggest live event in terms of ticket sales in the history of the pro wrestling business. And we're going back and doing it again. And it's already a huge profitable success with 8 months to go. And then Wrestle Dream is one of my favorite events we've ever done. And it was very personal to me. That was something I had thought of the night Inoki-san passed away. And I had marked the date down and said, I feel like 1 year from tonight, we should pay tribute to him. And I don't think I would be here without him. He's somebody I idolized growing up. He's one of the greatest promoters in the history of the business. And he's one of the greatest minds, and the fighting spirit that he embodied in the ring. And as a promoter, changed the wrestling business and set the tone for what we do in AEW, including in many ways the Continental Classic, and inspired so many great wrestlers. And certainly I don't think we would be here if he hadn't kept the fight going for a long time. And after All In and Wrestle Dream, we came here for World's End, and talk about a home run. You know, this was a huge success for the company. This week has been a huge success. And now, again, just to reiterate, the pay-per-view buys, this is a new event. And all the new events this year did really well. By far, biggest year of pay-per-view sales. And as far as more expanding of the calendar, I can't speak to that. I mean, I think we're planning to come back March 3rd for Revolution. We know that will be Sting's retirement match, and that will be certainly an increased focus in the coming months, and something that's very important to all of us, because Sting is somebody who joined us along the way here at Winter is Coming 2020, and is one of the most respected people in AEW internally, and I believe by the fans, and in my opinion is one of the most respected and deserving and greatest wrestlers of all time. Thank you.
Rob, with USA Today Sports Media Group, much has been made of MJF's contract status. So entering 2024, is he under contract?
Right now, can't comment on the future of MJF and AEW other than to say we're very grateful for everything he's done to this point to get us here. MJF's been a big part of AEW now for 5 years. And he is one of the people that helped build this place. He was in the first AEW match ever. He's wrestled with us through the pandemic. He was on the Brody Lee tribute show, which was 3 years ago today. And that was something I really wanted to mention and I felt really strongly about. So, he was a big part of that. In fact, Brody Lee Jr. hit him with a cane on the Brody Lee tribute show in one of the greatest matches, one of the greatest tribute matches on the greatest tribute show of all time to a great man and the greatest TNT champion. And being up here in New York, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up that and say that we're all thinking of Brody Lee all the time. We just passed the 3-year anniversary of his passing. And of course, today's the 3-year anniversary of his tribute show. And I think about it all the time. And, when you mentioned MJF there, and I think of all the great memories in the 5 years and the great moments he was a part of, I think that's one of them. And there's so many. And tonight was a great event. Tonight, MJF was a huge part of the promotion of the event. I think he was a huge part of the sale of the event. He's been a part of some of the biggest moments in AEW over the past 5 years. And MJF's also somebody that's always welcome here for the rest of his career, but I can't speak directly to his future. I would like to, again, wish the best with some people I already mentioned. I can't speak highly enough of QT Marshall. I mentioned, think the world of him, somebody who'd be welcome here anytime. I mentioned, of course, Andrade El Idolo, somebody that we really have appreciated having here and is always welcome in AEW. I would also like to say, in addition to Rafael Morphy, who gave great parting words and also great way for him to leave AEW on a sellout show. Also, end of the contract for our chief merchandising officer, Dana Massey, who I really appreciate, has done great work and has been with us since the very beginning of the company. Dana is a really, really great person. She's a very wonderful lady. She has a great family. And I got to know her before there was an AEW. And she's one of the first people that took a chance on this. And one of the first people that took this idea, this dream seriously. And without Dana, and if she hadn't convinced Matt to get on the phone with me and take this seriously, I don't know that we'd all be here. And I think she's a huge part of what we've done. And I also wanted to thank her. And also wanted to thank all of you. Really appreciate all of you being here, giving us your time, staying here to cover this. Pro wrestling, I think 5 years ago when AEW came in, I believe our launch, I believe our presence has changed pro wrestling. And I think AEW has done great things for the wrestling business. And none of it would have been possible without all of you covering the shows. When we launched, many of you were there and gave us a chance to reach out to the fans and tell them about our dream for pro wrestling. And now this week we celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the company. So I appreciate all of you, the wrestling media, who gave us a chance and gave us a platform and an opportunity to show who we are and talk about who we are. Because when we launched this company, we didn't have any TV. And really, we disseminated our information. We shared our information. We streamed things. We did interviews with a bunch of you. You gave us a platform. And it was the interest that you helped us get. It was the buzz you helped create just by giving us a fair chance to talk about what we were trying to do here that helped us get on TBS, that helped us get on TNT. And now we've been there over 4 years and we're going into the biggest year of them all. And we're in a great position and you've all been very fair to us. And I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you.